Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Little Brain Campaign. I am your host, Dr. Lauren LaRose. I am a board-certified child and adolescent psychiatrist and adult psychiatrist with a private practice in Metairie, Louisiana. And in this podcast, I like to talk to people who are involved in some way in mental health, physical health of kids and their caregivers. And I have the honor today of talking to Victoria or Tori Lenormand, and you will hear her lovely accent. She is talking to us from across the pond in the UK. So I don't even know what time of day it is. So I appreciate you making the time while I'm actually awake. But she is a mother, she is an author, she is an activist, and she's going to tell us all about her journey through all of this. So thank you for being here, Tori.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the invite to talk. It's just wonderful that we can connect.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so just start by telling us a little bit about you and how you got to this place in your life.
So, as you said, I'm a mom. How did I get here? How most of us get here? I came through the education system. I went to my first role in life. My first employing role was a police officer. So I was there for nearly 20 odd years. And then I transitioned into, I know I don't look old enough, but I am. I transitioned into working in financial crime around revenue and places like that for a while. And so I was a mum of one. I was I went through a really icky divorce at that particular period, and then got a lot of life learning, and then my second son arrived, and age 3, he was kicking up a storm, and not accepted at a nursery school, and doors were just closing all over the place because of behavioural issues, and I kept thinking, he's 3.
Right.
He's 3, he's 3. And it started a series of questions. Out came the detective and a series of questions about, when did this change?
Yeah.
When did this become so scripted that individual development was going to be judged quite so harshly at such a young age, requiring us to be referred for an autism assessment? As an alternative to being considered the worst mom on the planet as well. I thought, well, this is horrendous. It was an awful experience. I'll never forget being sent to A&E because he'd eaten a Lego brick in nursery. He'd mouthed it, he'd given it a good old chew, and they weren't too sure how many Lego bricks were in there, so I had to send him for an X-ray. So call from work, pick him up, go to the hospital, meet the receptionist, who's obviously had a very long day, meet the doctor, who cannot understand why I'm there at all. And he said, these will pass through naturally. I'm assuming it's like a child-proof Lego brick thing. I said, well, me too, but the school won't have him until he's had an X-ray. So at this point, I found the lines for education and health were really starting to blur for me. It felt like they were almost pitching against each other, and I was caught smack in the middle of it. And I at that point, did not know what to do. When the doctor had satisfied himself that he had a healthy diet and he's a very loved and very wanted child, he said, actually, you might need to have an assessment here. Okay, let's have an assessment. What are we assessing? What are we looking at? And it's the second time the school said, we suspect autism, but we're not allowed to say that.
Right.
So you can't say that. And I thought, well, what do I do with that? What does that mean? What does that mean for him? And then we went through the sort of 6 months of waiting, which isn't as long as an awful lot of people, and then through a complicated diagnostic process, which felt very, there were definitely diamonds in there that made it feel better, but otherwise it was very clinical. And yes, by the way, your child is autistic. And during the assessment, I could see what he was struggling with. I could actually see what my son was struggling with one of the tests. I think was talking about if mom and dad are in the room and the baby's in the crib, and dad leaves the room, mum moves the baby over to this area. Where's dad going to, when he comes back in the room, where's he going to look for the baby? And this was one of the tests. And I could see that, my son was straight away, he's going in the crib. It should be over there. And
Right.
he's not over there, he's over there. And I thought, I can see where,
Yeah.
so your brain is working differently or your thoughts are working differently. But I
Mhm.
mean, at this age, we're like 3.5.
Right.
So
Right.
you don't get an awful lot of insight at that point, do you?
Right.
Other than this is my child and I absolutely adore him and he's hitting a few good markers and he seems to be loving life. That
Mhm.
changed as soon as we started this process.
Mhm.
The loving life, that went. And
Oh.
my heart broke for him at that particular point, thinking, why? This doesn't feel where he's going to need a specialist school and he's going to need, no, he doesn't need a specialist school. He actually needs a mainstream school
Mhm.
with specialist provision. And
Yeah.
so we were tick-tocking between all of these things and being just presented with what could be accommodated rather than in hindsight, I think I'd like to have gone back and said, what does he need?
Yeah.
Give him that.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yep.
that is, give
Mhm.
him that.
Mhm.
Because trying to squish him into their box was just impossible.
Yeah.
I have a child that will not be squished into a
Mhm. Yep.
box,
Yep.
and I kind of love that about him. I really
Uh-huh.
do. It challenges me. It challenged them. It challenged our systems in a way that I hadn't, having had decades of working within them. My 3, 4, 5-year-old, as he was growing, was challenging every bit of it, saying,
Yeah.
"Why are you asking me that? Why do you need this? I want to." And the more he was asking questions, the more I came back to, "Well, can we have an answer to that question? That
Mhm.
seems like a reasonable question. Can we have an
Yep.
answer to that question?" No, there isn't one. Just do as you're told. I
Right.
thought,
Right.
kind of, so it was a big eye opener for me as a person who'd always worked within the system, who has signposted people to services, believing that they were there, to find that sometimes it's empty. You
Mhm.
get so far down the line, and sometimes that service just actually isn't there. I lived
Yep.
on a small island. I should clarify. I lived on a small island at the time in the Channel Islands,
Mhm.
um, and so the constant story is we only have so much money for so much things. If you want
Yep.
more, you have to go to a bigger area. But that's
Mhm.
not true either, because I'm now living in Scotland, and it's better, but it's not. They're still struggling as much as
Yeah.
anybody else for
Yep.
goods and services and people and understanding. And I thought, oh, we need to do better.
Yeah.
So it got me. It will got to a point of chronic anxiety. I mean,
Mhm.
chronic. He did not want to come down the stairs because he thought his legs were going to fall off. I'm not
Oh.
coming down because my legs are going to fall off. I can't leave the door. I can't go out. I can't be there. I'm a terrible person. I can't get on the
Oh.
rainbow. And after a little while, I could see he was undernourished in just about every way a child could be at
Mhm.
that point. He just stopped loving life. The zest and the zing had gone. And
Yeah.
this was all in an effort to try and fit a box. I was starting to wonder if that box was entirely necessary.
Yeah.
Um, when the pandemic hit, our little island shut down. Geographically, it was much easier than a lot of places. It just nothing in, nothing out.
Right.
Everything kind of shut down, and he seemed to breathe. He seemed to take a
Mhm.
breath and go, "I just can't do this, Mum. I can't do it. And if you can show me how to die and let me know if it's going to hurt, I need to know how I get out of here." Which was
Wow.
just, he was 6 at that point, and
Oh.
that was just, yeah, heartbreaking. And when
Yeah.
I looked for the support and the services, thinking, "Oh, I'm out of my depth here. I don't know what to do with this." There was just nothing there.
Yeah.
There was absolutely nothing there. Our child adult mental health services over here were very well. He's autistic, and the school were, yeah, he's autistic. They get mental health issues. Do you not know this? I'm thinking,
Right.
we just accept this. We're just
Yeah.
accepting this. Okay, okay. I just felt like I have many, many McFly moments of like, I'm having
Mhm.
a problem with how we've come to accept. Um, Getting a good look at him during COVID. he learned very quickly that his teachers were posting work in the mornings,
Mhm.
that he could get up early, he could get on with that work, and he went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class
Wow.
completely autonomously. So much
Wow.
so that the teacher said to me, "Are you doing his homework?" I said, "I'm not doing anything. I've got him sat next to me. Occasionally, he asks a question I think is perfectly appropriate for his age. We
Yeah.
explore it if necessary, but other than that, no, I'm not doing his work." She said, "Well, he's gone from the bottom. All of my other kids are falling behind, and he's accelerating." I'm like, "Oh, that would be typical of my son to do the exact opposite of everybody else."
Yep,
So
yep. He's swimming against the current.
here I come, mum. Yeah. And I got a really good look at there's no academic difficulty here. He's not struggling. I understood at that point just how impactful the environment was for him
Yeah.
with the whole sensory processing the sensory processing side of things. He seems to be hyper one side and hypo the other. This has got to
Mhm.
be incredibly challenging for him. And I think with the best will in the world, the school could not do any more than they were doing. And they were very much trying to tick boxes that my son just would not tick.
Right,
So
right.
when we withdrew into the home, things started to improve. Rapidly started
Mhm.
to improve. Um, he took to lessons. He took to anything that we put in front of him, from working at a hedgehog sanctuary to go down the road to. He was curious about hedgehogs, so we followed that.
Mhm.
Wherever he was curious, we went. And
Right.
then our eldest was heading to Scotland for university. Um, and we decided to really bite the bullet and left our employment. They kind of left us as well, to be honest with you, through that whole COVID moment.
Mhm.
But we really came back to what do we value the most? Our
Right.
eldest is heading into university. Our youngest is really struggling with the idea of returning to school.
Mhm.
So what if we tried this differently?
Mhm.
Home education was not on my radar, not even close. My husband and I both worked. We had no idea that this was even going to be a thing.
Right.
But we rented out the house, moved into our motorhome, and toured around the UK and a little bit of Europe for
Mhm.
about 3 years. And it was
Wow.
going back to mom, dad, this is life. I'm loving it. And there's got to be
Yeah.
somewhere on this planet that I do actually fit. I said, there's loads of places you're going to fit. You
Yep.
have to ask yourself if you want to. And
Yeah.
I think that became quite a big thing for us is fit where you want to fit.
Mhm.
Don't worry if it's not for you. It's okay. You don't have to be everything to everybody. You don't have to do that.
Right.
Whereas I'm not sure that's the narrative they get in education now. That
Yeah.
ticky box. Anyhow, sorry, that gives you a really long story about how I got from detective to home educating mum. Finally wrote a book that I've always wanted to write. That's why I wrote the book. Because I've always wanted to write. And I thought, well, I'm fulfilling a dream of my own here. Is I now have a story that I'd like to share with people because I don't want anybody to feel as alone as we did.
Yep.
Um, I'd like to signpost other options for people, help them go outside the box. So I retrained as a coach, and I work with adults in community now that have either late diagnosis or are coming out of institutions where maybe the diagnosis hasn't always been understood, and
Yep.
they're integrating for independent living. So I just I feel really called in that direction right now. So that's where
Mhm.
I am.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Big
And I
pivot.
think it's wonderful. I'm assuming the book is just like about what you just described, like this whole
Yeah.
journey that y'all went
So
down.
we are the magic of not fitting in.
Love it.
And it was us finding just a little bit of magic in the fact
Mhm.
that the constant complaints are he's not ticking the box, he's not fitting in. He's not ticking the box, he must fit in.
Mhm.
Um, and I started to question our drive for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is, I would say most, if not all, parents who have a child that is neurodivergent in some way,
Mm.
feel this. They understand this, they're living this. You feel alone, you feel isolated, even though we know there's others of us out there. It still feels very isolating. You feel like you are damaged and your child is damaged. You feel like you've done something wrong as a parent, even though
Oh.
You didn't choose
Yeah.
any of this. No
Yeah,
parent would choose
exactly.
this, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's so helpful to see an example of someone who decided, enough's enough. I'm not going to shove this square peg into this round hole.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to allow him to have an environment where he can be him
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
succeed.
That was it wasn't the plan. It was never the plan.
Yep.
And that's what I try to say to people, when we're talking, is that this was never on my radar. This was not a plan.
Mm-hmm.
This was um, this was an absolute need to pivot where
Yep.
our systems cannot.
Yep.
So I think it's become a parental thing, hasn't it? It's become a real parental responsibility. And I really think that's horrendous for a
Yep.
number of us, because we're holding up just about everything at the moment. Us
Yep.
working professional parents are holding up so many systems that are just
Mm-hmm.
ready to collapse.
Yep.
And sometimes I think maybe just let go, let it fall, let it collapse. We'll rebuild something better at the end of it,
Yep.
because we've had a lot of learning. All of us have had a lot of learning as to what we can and cannot do. I think our
Yes.
children are telling us, they're marching with their feet to say, this is not okay. This is not
Yep.
what I want for my life. And
Yep.
even my eldest son, straight A's in school, by that metric, and very, very happy, easygoing chap, said, half of this stuff that we're learning, I see no point.
Yeah.
I see
Yep.
very little point, other than somebody somewhere at some point that we can't even determine said that that was important.
Mm-hmm.
But when did that become more important than my happiness and my
Right.
well-being?
Right.
And that's the bit I'm thinking, wow, we're missing this balance. We're
Yeah.
missing it.
Yes. Yes. And it's like in some ways, yes, we need to learn to be resilient and deal with challenges
Sure.
and overcome hurdles.
Yeah.
But it's like at a certain point, it's at what cost,
Yeah.
you know? Um,
If
and
if they're not learning resilience through that
mm-hmm.
model,
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's another model they can learn resilience through. I
Yeah.
mean, I see my youngest is one of the most resilient people I've ever met. He's been
Yeah.
through more than I would ever have wanted for him,
Yep.
but he's out the other side and thriving, having looked at the dark hole.
Yep.
He's
Yep.
looked at it and he found the tools to come out the other side. So it's not a case of, we coddle them at home. I love that when people say to me, "Oh, we just made life easy for yourself." I'm like, you have no idea.
No idea. It's like,
You
if you
have
only knew. If you
if
only knew.
you knew what it was like to actually bring him back from that, with always doubting myself, thinking, "Am I doing this? Am I really doing
Mm-hmm.
this? Is this? There's nothing cut and dried here. And maybe it will be a short period of time. Maybe it just needs a reset. Maybe let's just take each day as it comes and see what happens. Okay, but he
Mm-hmm.
seems to be capable. He seems to be okay here. Seems to be happy enough. So it's just going over there."
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, if I reverse it as a police officer, if somebody had said to me, "This child doesn't want to go home," we would start investigating as to why that would be. We
Yes.
don't investigate when a child says, "I can't be
I
in that
don't.
school."
Yep.
We don't even
Yep.
look. And you think maybe our systems, lovingly set up for the achievement and attainment of children's academic knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
need tweaking to say that that's not the only intelligence that's out there. That's not the
Yep.
only marker for intelligence is academia. And many people come to that later in life. If just because it's not their age 4, I don't think we need to panic.
Right.
Just,
Right.
it
That's such
was.
a good point. I had never thought about it like that. When kids say, I don't want to go home, I don't feel safe going home, everyone, adults, like we
Everyone's right.
automatically have our alarm bells going, like what's going on? How do I help this child? How do I protect them and keep them safe? And we don't ever think about that when they say, I don't feel safe going to school.
No, I don't feel safe at school. I'm not safe to feel at school. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
safe to have an emotion, a feeling at school.
Yeah.
It gets picked before I can say anything about it, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's not got value. I cannot tell you how many times I said, "Well, we're not here to make friends," and I thought, and yet the first thing when we left school was, "How is he going to socialize?" And I thought,
Uh-huh.
but we're not here to make friends. You're not interested in the relational things that he's struggling with. Part of that triad of impairment, isn't it? It's struggling with the relationships here. But if we're not here to make friends, how can we then blame parents straight away when their child says, I need to decompress. I can't do people right now.
Right.
Okay, come back in. And when you feel ready, and it was about 3 years ago, he said, I'd really like to try scouts again. And I
Mhm.
loved my rugby. Can I give them a go again? Of course, absolutely. Let's find a club that you're happy at, and let's see how it's going. And now he's just rugby mad, rugby, rugby, rugby.
Wow.
And rugby's become nutrition, the gym, fitness, social skills. All of this is developing from a strength, which is
Right.
what we do as adults, isn't it? Is we take
Right.
our strength and use it to develop other areas. So he's just had a much broader curriculum than our academic curriculum. It's
Right.
not that he does geography by going places and looking at the map and working out where we are, and he looks at the culture of people by absorbing into it. He goes
Right.
in, and that's his preferred learning style. Again, when I was policing and I would teach police officers, I would always look at their preferred learning style. Are they a read learner? Are they a do learner? How are they going here? Is this somebody who
Mhm.
needs to watch first and then go in? Everybody's different. I didn't teach
Yes.
anybody the same way. So
Mhm.
it suddenly hit me like a train that, oh, we do this with our children. They're
Yeah.
very standardized. And if they don't meet that metric, what's happening to their mental health? That
Right.
really that really bothered me.
Right.
Really
So
bothered
is
me.
he still doing homeschool now
Yeah.
or what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's had the opportunity to return anytime he would like. He makes it very, very clear he does not like he does not
Yeah.
like the idea of
Mhm.
that environment, even understanding now, he's 14. We left when he was 9, I think.
Mhm.
Would have been 9? Yeah, 8, 9. And the travel that he did, he's still very adamant that I do not have any interest in sitting still all day listening to somebody talking. I find that incredibly difficult. I can't do
Yep.
that. Okay. So, and especially with the lights he can hear and the scrapey chair and everything, he
Right.
can't focus in that environment.
Right.
And yet put him online with a group of people and he's in there learning, whether that
Mhm.
is role play, Dungeons and Dragons, whether that is the role play games that they play, or whether that is math for a few little functions that he was struggling with that I would consider to be like life skill math,
Right.
fractions, division, bits and pieces like that. Now he's there, he's got it. So we have very functional maths, exchanging currencies, all of that. The day-to-day maths is a life skill rather than
Mhm.
an academic principle. If he had a massive interest in maths, we would have supported it that way.
Right.
Um, but it's not there. The need to move, the impact sensory processing need that he has for. I mean, the occupational therapist said to us at the time he would benefit from rugby. I was like, oh, that's
Mhm.
amazing. We're doing that, but he's not contact until he's a bit older. So that contact she thought he was going to be getting, I was like, no, it's tag. They're going to get a tag, and he's very good at getting these tags because he zones in on a
Mhm.
moving target really nicely. And you think, well, that's quite a skill, but again, we don't measure that.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
PE teacher may say, "Hey, he's very physically active," but that's it. It's
Right.
like that's actually his strength. Bring that lot in, all of the spatial awareness um, that he needs to be able to play rugby well. He's got.
Right.
Um, and we never had to teach him how to go through people because we were frantically trying to teach him how to walk around people in a high street, that this would be polite. And this, you just don't seem to see people. You're just trying to go through them. But on the rugby pitch, this is a great skill.
Yeah.
Let's put it where it belongs.
So he's really channeling those strengths now, which is great.
Absolutely channeling those strengths. We
Eh,
changed our language as well.
uh-huh.
We used a different language with him from the medical language we were given around um, the National Autistic Society have been fabulous with lots of courses and support for parents. And their charities, I think, are carrying a heavy load over here. I don't know if that's the
Mhm.
same where you are, but I do think they're carrying a heavy load here.
Mhm.
Um, so we did a number of courses. We completed a number of courses with them, and we were looking at uh, the language around how deficit model, this deficit and lacking. And I thought, this is not helping when we're
No.
communicating. It does not help. So one of the modalities I was exploring that Will was kind of looking at as well. So he seemed to be quite energetic. He was grabbing crystals and things and saying he could, I can feel these. Can you not feel these? I'm thinking
Mhm.
there's definitely something different happening here,
Yep.
and it's okay. I want him to be okay with that. We dove down the rabbit hole of human design, which
Mhm.
is it's kind of a holistic picture of the energy of the person.
Uh-huh.
It's your blueprint.
Mhm.
It's not an archetypal schema, but it's a nice blueprint that he's starting to understand himself an awful lot more with where his strengths are, where he may find the energy of another person a little bit more challenging. So we've changed it to an energy language that he
Mhm.
can really get on board with. He understands that's hard energy for me, and I think
Uh-huh.
actually that's much nicer than I can't do that,
Yeah.
or I've never been able to. This very negative deficit language was quite pivotal as well while we were traveling to help him change into, actually, I'm a good person and I haven't discovered what I've got to offer yet, but I trust that I do have something now. I do have something to
Yeah.
offer because initially it was, I don't fit, I don't belong here. Get me out of
Yep.
here. You know?
Yeah, well, and unfortunately for a lot of these kids, that's the message they receive from the world. Is like there's something wrong with them. That's the reason why they don't fit in, right?
Yeah.
Like they're the problem. And so a lot of them do end up having some pretty significant self-esteem issues
Yeah.
unless you figure out a way to help them develop their strengths and recognize their strengths. Um,
Absolutely.
and I think, when people listen to this, I think it's very easy for people to say like, "Oh, that's so woo-woo the way, she's thinking," and,
Oh, of
um,
course.
and I think, um,
I just want to take you back
I
to, 20 odd year police officer, evidence based, person,
exactly, and that's
literally
what
watching her
mhm.
child. Yeah.
And I know, like, when we talked before, we decided to record this, we both said we had this, like, very neurotypical child first, right?
Mm,
Who, if that had been your only child, you never would end up on this road, like, this never would have even come into your mind.
yeah.
But then when you have this child land in your lap that is
Mhm.
neurodivergent, as a parent, you have to adapt and you have to
Okay.
change the way you think and be open-minded or else you're never going to help your kid, thrive.
Yeah. I agree. And we need to stop seeing ourselves as just the mum or the
Mhm.
parent, or
Mhm.
there's there's a whole new skill set that you're massively invested in. I've never read so much as I did
Yes.
around that diagnosis and
Mhm.
the challenging behaviors that we were seeing that I really didn't know how to manage at all.
Mhm.
I felt like we were I felt like a real fish out of water for a long period of time,
Yep.
and you could only respond to what you're observing. Well, it's exact. I just used the skill that I've always used policing. What's happening in front of me is what I'm going to respond to, and I'll
Mhm.
investigate that afterwards. Is there a better way? Is there this? Can we do better? Cutting myself some slack around the fact
Yep.
that this might not look pretty to start with. This might
Mhm.
be a fish out of water moment. This may be really, really challenging and really, really hard. And wow, he doesn't sit still. He
Yeah.
just does not stop. So I just want to, could you just, because I'm just reading something about you. I'm trying to work it out as we go. No, that's not happening. So it does, you have to cut yourself some slack to say,
Yeah.
I'm learning right now.
Yep.
I'm learning, been a big deep dive.
Yep.
So things will go wrong. It won't look pretty. It's the one thing my husband and I did together was when we said we were going to tour in the motorhome is we don't know what this looks like.
Mhm.
We're trying something we never even thought we would look at, but we can't afford not to
Yep.
because we risk losing him.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, with the backstop, aren't we? That parents yet again of that I was the backstop even when I was working. The school had no hesitation phoning and saying, "Come and get him."
Yeah.
And we can't manage him. You need to come and get him. Fine,
Mhm.
I'm coming to get him. But a few weeks later, the same school, the same system is saying, "But you're just mum." But when you can't cope, I'm the first one you call.
Yep. Yep.
and I'm always here. And I don't get to say, no, thank you. I
Mhm.
don't get to do that. I get to
No.
say, how on earth am I going to do this? And
Yeah.
sometimes that might mean embracing something I've never embraced before, like a whole new language of how do I give this child a language that is kind and
Yeah.
compassionate? And if that sounds a bit woo-woo, it's just kind and compassionate and it's gentle and it says, you know what, everybody's got a little light and a little dark. Everybody's got some strengths and some areas that they're working on. You're more like all of us than you know.
Yeah. Yep.
It was a way
Absolutely.
of bringing it into a collective field again to say, you're not other, you're,
Mhm.
um, you're this, this
Mhm.
is recognized in this field. You appear to have real strengths here. This
Yeah.
is a type. Does that feel right? Or does that feel, nope, instantly grabbed it. It was like, that's me. I
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
okay, prickly, prickly little, everybody go away character. I was like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's me. I was like, yeah, yeah. So how do we work with that? Give mommy a clue.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Well, Tori, this has been so wonderful talking to you. And I think a lot of families are gonna really appreciate hearing about your experience and your son's experience and knowing that, like, there is so much hope, that sometimes you just have to think outside the box for these kids.
Yeah. We do it on a daily basis as parents. We do it as
Mhm.
professional people, and now we're doing it for our children. It
Yeah.
doesn't make us bad work. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean anything. It means you can pivot.
Yep.
You can pivot.
Yep.
And I think that's what the challenge is. That's what we talk about with resilience, isn't it? Is can you pivot
Yes.
to meet
Yes.
something. And then in this case, it was another pivot. And it's not always straightforward and easy, but when you look
Mhm.
at yourself as a whole thing and your child as a whole thing, you look at your assets as a whole thing and you bring it all together, you can massage some of that. You can play with that a little bit more than maybe we've been led to believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, tell everyone how can they find your book?
So I have a website, which is geminidirections.co.uk. You can find my book there, or you can find it on Amazon as well. But you can find my book there. But there's also a circle space for parents just to drop in. If you want to link to it, if you're having a hard time, it's just an ear the other end. This isn't therapy. This is community of
Mhm.
a whole bunch of mums and dads saying, "Yeah, we know where you are.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
that's horrible. You can leave it here quite safely and then explore where you want to go from there, but get free from those thoughts and everything first so you get the clarity that you can then signpost and head in the direction that you're going to head in. If you want to ask questions and we can signpost, great. If you just want somewhere just to leave it because it's hard and you can't get a babysitter and you can get to your computer at a particular time of day and you might get half an hour, great.
Yeah.
It's just a space for that. So yeah, we explore things there. So that you can find me there.
All right. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Little Brain Campaign podcast. If you enjoyed our conversation, give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Please take a moment to leave a review while you're still thinking about it. It really helps grow the podcast, and I love hearing from our listeners. See you next time.